everyone. This is Gayatri Shirsagar. Welcome you all to the Sustain series. This is the fourth talk in the Sustain series. Let me talk about Pune Knowledge Cluster. Pune Knowledge Cluster is established by the Office of Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. We are one of the six clusters in India. We aim to bring together academia, R&D institutions, and industry and its surrounding areas to address challenging problems of the region through innovative means using scientific knowledge and engaging highly skilled human resource. So this year we have started the Sustain series under which we will be organizing public talks, focus group discussions, workshops with experts in the environment and sustainability space. Through this Sustain series, we aim to promote collaborations, cooperations of technologies, and conceptualization of city-scale projects to solve key issues related to carbon emissions, wastewater treatment, improving air quality, and green energy production. So today we have with us Dr. Priyadarshini Karve, who's the Managing Director of Samuchit Enviro Tech. uh, Welcome, Dr. Karve. So I will be introducing Dr. Karve in a while. Dr. Priyadarshini Karve, she completed her PhD in physics from University of Pune. She is the founder director of Samuchit Enviro Tech, a social green enterprise promoting environmental sustainable lifestyle products and services since 2005. The organic waste to biochar technology developed by her won the Ashden Award for renewable energy in 2002. In a career spanning nearly 25 years, she has developed and promoted decentralized organic waste to fuel technologies and improved cook stoves based on biomass fuels. She has invented an easy to use Samuchit carbon footprints, a carbon calculator for citizens, and conducts workshops on climate friendly lifestyle, sustainable urbanization. She is a co-founder of Urja Box LLP, a green startup from 2021. She is a founder member and on the board of directors of Clean Energy Access Network, a registered society in India, and serves on the governing and advisory bodies of many national and international organizations. She is also the national convener of Indian Network on Ethics and Climate Change. She also teaches courses on sustainability, physics, and big history at Symbiosis School for Liberal Arts. She is a co-editor of Shaikshanik Sandarbha, a Marathi language bi-monthly on science and education. Her work has been honored by various national and international awards. Welcome, Dr. Karve. She will be talking about biocharring, a solution to multiple sustainability challenges. Yeah, over to you, Dr. Karve.
Thank you. Thank you, Gayatri. And good afternoon to everyone. I'll just share my screen. Okay. I hope I am audible.
Yes, Dr. Karve. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll continue like this. If there is an issue, then I'll turn off my video.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about biocharring, which is something that I have been doing for many years now, but suddenly now everyone seems to be interested in this process for a variety of reasons. This is one way of dealing with organic waste to an extent, but it also has spin-offs which lead to a number of solutions to what currently seem to be sustainability challenges, and that's what I'm going to talk about. And I'll also talk about the process that we follow for biochar. So we all are aware that this is the typically how our current waste management systems look like, where you have these trucks going from point to point, collecting wastes, bringing them to a location at a city level, and then processing it into various things. I'm particularly focused here on organic waste. Many people are now converting organic waste into some form of energy, and therefore these are called waste to energy systems. But this is a bit of a misnomer, because if you actually do the energy calculation of the entire cycle at a typical, let's say, any city like Pune, how the waste is being collected, the highly inefficient trucks by which it is getting transported, and then it may be producing biogas or electricity or whatever at a city scale, and then that energy also gets distributed, which has transmission and distribution losses. So if you do the energy calculation in this whole thing, you will realize that this is actually consuming more energy than the amount of energy that it produces. So we have been promoting what we call micro scale or extremely decentralized, because even the city level organic waste processing may be called decentralized, but what we are talking about is extremely decentralized as much as possible. Whatever organic waste is generated at a particular location, convert that into a usable or sellable product at that location itself, with minimum transportation of this material, which is a high volume, low weight kind of a material. And that is why a lot of energy gets spent for very little energy coming out. The end users would also then be the community which is in a way generating this waste. If these are the kind of systems that are set up, which could be at a single household level, it could be at an institutional level, it could be at a gated community level, the maximum scale should be at a municipal ward level. Waste should not travel beyond that. So if that is the logic that is followed, then you can actually get something out of your output will be more than the input. But in this case, even organic waste will have to be further classified, because different processes are used for waste that has less than 15% moisture content. This can be converted into a variety of biofuels and other products, some of which I'll talk about in a few minutes. There are different technologies for waste with moisture greater than 15%. So simple examples of these two is, less than 15% moisture would be our leaf litter that is generated in the garden, and more than 15% moisture would be the kitchen waste. So green organic waste is high moisture, it has to be processed in a different way. Low moisture waste typically would be brown and more lignin containing, and that needs to be processed in a different way. But it is possible to do this in a highly decentralized way and actually extract more output than the input that is going in. What are the technologies that are currently available? It's actually interesting that with biomass waste, organic waste, we can get, if we are looking at it from an energy perspective, we can get solid, liquid, or gaseous fuels. So, replacements for all three types of petroleum fuels are possible from organic waste. But the financial economics as well as energy economics will work out if and only if this is done in a decentralized way. That's the key aspect to keep in mind here. For solid fuels, charcoaling is one of the most traditional technologies. Biomass briquetting and pelleting is also quite well known now. The gaseous fuels, wood gasification, biogas generation, these are also some things that we are familiar with. Liquid fuels are not so popular in India, but in other developing countries, wood distillation and catalytic fractionation. These are this process is used in India more for converting or recovering petrol from plastic. But biomass, lignin particularly, is also a polymer. It's a natural plastic. And therefore, the same process can also be used for extracting a liquid fuel from this. So, this is also a possibility. But primarily, solid and gaseous fuels, we are familiar with these technologies. I'm going to focus only on the first one, which is charcoaling or charring. So, what you see in the picture is the charring kiln that we have developed. This is, as you can see, it is metallic. It is actually just metal plates which are connected by nuts and bolts. So this is easy to dismantle and move from one location to another. It's very easy to operate manually. So this is a portable charring kiln, which we call Samuchit trash flasher. Um, in case of getting a fuel out of this, there are two ways of looking at it. You can use, if your feedstock is dry leaves or dry weeds or dry grasses and things like that, then you will get char powder. If you are getting char powder, it needs to be mixed with a binder, and then you can use a very simple briquetting machine to make char briquettes. These machines are available even as hand operated machines. So this can be an entirely on a very small scale, a totally manually operated process. But on a slightly larger scale, this can be, the machine can be even electricity driven, and you can use multiple such kilns. So the idea here is that you convert the waste where it is available into char, and then you can transport the char to the briquetting facility. If your feedstock is woody, if it is wood waste or bamboo waste or coconut shells, this type of material gives you charcoal equivalent. So it gives you a lumps. So these lumps can be directly used as fuel. You don't need to do any further processing for it. Now you might be wondering that what is so special about this? There is a flame there, and it therefore gives an impression that we are perhaps just burning the waste. But that's not the case here. What we are doing is we are gasifying the waste. We are converting the waste into. So what happens here is that only the top layer burns. That heat drives out volatiles from the biomass below that layer, and when these volatile gases come in contact with oxygen, that is where they catch fire. So the flame that you see is actually the gas that is coming out from the kiln that is being burnt off. If this gas is not burnt off, then it is going to cause air pollution. So you see hardly any smoke there. You only see a flame. That is an indication that this is a very, very low pollution or nearly zero pollution process, by which you are driving out all the volatiles from the biomass. What is left behind ultimately is going to be nearly 100% pure carbon, which is char. So whatever the capacity of this kiln is, you can put at a time about 3 to 4 kilograms of our typical mixed garden waste, and you will end up with about 20 to 30% of that after about 20 minutes or so as char. When this flame stops, that means all the volatiles have been driven out. So you can see that there are handles here on the kiln. So you just have to, two people can just lift this kiln. The kiln is open at the bottom. So you lift the kiln and put it on the side. You will see a heap of embers on which you just pour water, and you end up getting your char, which is about 20 to 30% of the biomass which has gone in. So every say half an hour or so, you can keep on processing about 3 to 4 kilograms of waste, and you will end up with char powder. If it is woody waste, of course, the weight which goes in is higher. and the time also increases a bit. So depending on the density of the material, it will contain less or more material, and you will have to spend, or the process will continue for either from 20 minutes to maybe an hour or so. So that has to be sort of by trial and error with a few batches. You can get a hang of how exactly your particular unique combination of organic waste, what is the best way to char it, what is the best quantity to put in, and what is the time for each batch. Once you get the hang of it, you can easily get nearly 30% output from this system. This is a larger system which we designed because what had happened is this has sort of come full circle now. In 2002, when I was first working on this technology, our thinking was that this is for rural areas where particularly I was at that time working with an NGO which was located in a sugarcane growing area. So the idea was sugarcane waste, sugarcane trash, which is the dry leaves of cane which are left in the field when the cane is harvested. I'm not talking about bagasse here, I'm talking about the waste that is left in the farm, which the farmers just burn off. So our idea was that we will give them this solution, and instead of burning it off, they'll make char, and this will be a new product. It didn't happen for a variety of reasons, but we started getting demand from cities for garden waste management, and therefore we scaled down our technology so that it can be manually operated, etc., etc. But now, because there is a lot of interest in biochar from agricultural community, we also realize that even if at a ward level or at a city level, people who are even very efficiently, they may be doing waste management, but they end up with a lot of woody waste from time to time. Trees are being cut for road widening, for building construction, and so on. Also, bamboo waste and old furniture waste, that type of materials are also being generated. So this is getting piled up at the waste management facility because composting doesn't work for these materials. So we now have this larger kiln. There is a person standing there, so you will get a sense of the size. This will contain about 30 kilograms of waste material at a time. And the batch will run for about an hour or so, and you will get about 10 kilogram of char at the end of it. So one can even think about a micro enterprise which is providing a waste management service and producing a useful byproduct from this. So this requires about 3 workers to operate it. So the labor involved is also much less in this way of doing it rather than having multiple kilns operating simultaneously. So this is a new thing that we have developed, and if you see carefully, I don't know if it is visible, but you can see that there is some flame here in these holes, but there is nothing coming out from the chimney. So this is a very clean process which doesn't produce smoke. And essentially it's a gasifier. We burn off the gas and harvest the charcoal. One can use the gas also, but that will just keep on adding more complexity and more cost to the system. This system also is portable in the sense that one can dismantle this into 4 or 5 pieces, which can be loaded onto a three-wheeler tempo. And the idea is wherever a large quantity of woody waste is being generated or even agricultural waste is being generated, you put it up there, deal with that waste, and then shift it to another location. Minimize the transportation of waste. That is the key here for ensuring that the cost remains low. Once you have charcoal as fuel, there are multiple ways of using it. We are already familiar with many of these. We ourselves have designed this steam cooker in which you can use only about 100 to 120 grams of charcoal or char briquettes and cook dal, rice, vegetables, 3 items at a time for a family of 4 to 5 people. So on our website, from our website, you can go to our YouTube channel and you can see the video of how this cooker operates. But this is also one way of, so the ideal situation is if you have some backyard where some waste is being generated, convert that into char, make char briquettes out of it, use those briquettes for your own cooking, at least partially, because all the boiling and steaming can be done in this cooker. So you are using a renewable fuel rather than LPG or pipe natural gas. But that's not all. This char that we are producing from waste, when it is used in non-fuel applications, it is typically called biochar. Adding biochar to soil will improve soil health, and you can mix it with compost, and you can also mix it with chemical fertilizer if that is what you are using. It will reduce the amount of fertilizer going in, and still you will get the same yield. Biochar also holds moisture in the soil, and therefore it in general improves the soil health, reduces the water requirement, and in many cases people have reported getting higher yields from biochar applications. And that is in fact one of the reasons why there is an interest now from farming community. But you can see in this photograph here, this is a cloth bag which is just filled with char powder, and you can hang it in a toilet or any closed space where typically there is a bit of a mustiness in the air. What biochar does is it absorb aromatic and organic compounds from air. So it will remove all the odors from that closed space, and it is essentially cleaning up the air actually, rather than putting up something which produces a fragrance which masks bad odors. Here you are removing bad odors from the air. So this is an organic deodorizer. One can also add biochar in organic soap and make it a biochar soap, which again has the same logic that if you wash your hands with this soap, the char particles will be more effectively removing organic debris from your hands. Another interesting application that some people have experimented with is waterless urinal. You can take an earthen pot, fill it with char powder, and use that as a urinal. It locks in moisture and it locks in the odor, so you don't have to pour water. This will, of course, ultimately saturate. But now you have urea enriched charcoal or biochar, which can go into the field as biochar plus fertilizer combination. So, in especially rural areas where there is scarcity of water, this can be a strategy, particularly for schools or other public places where water scarcity makes it difficult to maintain hygiene in public toilet systems. So these are some of the applications. But beyond that, what you are doing here is that from the natural carbon cycle, so trees and plants have harvested carbon dioxide from air through photosynthesis. This is what is there in the dry leaves and twigs and branches that have fallen down. If this is allowed to decompose naturally, or if it is composted, or if it is burnt off, in either of these cases, all the carbon will eventually return to the atmosphere. When you do biocharring, 20 to 30% carbon is held back as solid inert carbon. And then if you put it in ground, essentially you are doing carbon capture and storage, and this is the world's cheapest carbon capture and storage technology, which anybody and everybody can do. This is in fact something which has really led to shooting up in the interest in biocharring processes. So there are possibilities of carbon finance project also around this. As I said, this holds moisture in the soil. It increases porosity of the soil, and the soil bacterial count goes up. So in general, the health of the soil improves. One can provide garden waste management service at various scales using this technology. The biochar based products can be manufactured if you have a assured supply of organic waste, one can go for an enterprise based on manufacturing these products and marketing them. And carbon finance for biochar in soil is possible. Of course, it needs a certain scale, but there are some interesting experiments happening around that. This is essentially the benefit that you are getting out of this. This is the process itself is zero carbon or even carbon negative. The pollution is near zero. So this is a much better way of handling organic waste than any other process that is available currently. It gives you a localized renewable resource with multiple uses. So you can use it for creating a fuel, or you can use it for improving the yields from your garden. It could be a terrace garden or your farm. So it is contributing to energy security as well as food security. It also allows you to reduce your water input in the farm, and therefore water security also this is contributing towards. So there are some a number of environmental uh, uh, sort of green signals that you are getting from this technology. And based on all of this, there is a good promising potential for green livelihoods and micro enterprises. So this is another important aspect, because if we really want to crack the climate crisis as well as the sustainability crisis, what needs to happen is all our business processes, our entrepreneurial processes should become environment friendly. Environment friendliness should become mainstreamed in entrepreneurial processes. So this type of new green entrepreneurial opportunities is the way to go, especially if people are looking for starting new enterprises. So this is something which those of you who are interested in creating some interesting startups, look at this sector where you can earn money by protecting environment. That's the way to move forward. We have been organizing trainings, demonstrations, and ongoing support to entrepreneurs. These are photos from one of our very recent trainings that we conducted in Nasik. So I would invite NGOs, philanthropies to please uh, collaborate with us. This is a very simple to operate technology, but it has huge implications for sustainability and climate change in the solution space. So these are some of the points that I wanted to highlight today. You can find more information on our website. You can also look for Samuchit Envirotech on Facebook and Instagram, where we keep on sharing when we are having next trainings, etc. One demonstration is going to happen tomorrow at on the premises of our office itself. You can just WhatsApp on this number 9226894206 to get more information about this and about the future possibilities around biocharring. So I'll stop here and I would be happy to respond to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karve, for this wonderful talk, and also thank you for sharing your website and other details about the workshop. Uh, oh, no, I think we don't have any question as such. We request participant to put their questions in the chat box. I think there is a question by Dr. Shailesh Mantri. He's asking, is it possible to you to fix your apparatus in PMC Gardens?
Well, it is possible from my side. The thing is, there is still a lot of misconceptions around biocharing, particularly because one sees a flame in it. And therefore, people sort of equate it with open burning of waste. That's the unfortunate reality. We have to keep on saying this. I mean, it's in a way a good thing that there has been so much publicity that we should not be open burning garden waste, etc. But this is not open burning. Just because you see flame doesn't mean that pollution is happening. We use LPG and PNG for cooking, and those are considered pollution free
One
fuels,
minute.
but there is flame there. So it's important to understand that this is gasification, and the gas is being burned off to avoid pollution. So main thing is getting officials convinced on this. Even if they are convinced, they have people sitting on top of them who may not understand what is going on. So doing something entirely new, there is always resistance from an established system. That's what we have been facing. But conversations have happened. We have given demonstrations also, but somehow it hasn't quite worked out. What we have been suggesting to people is that yes, you are doing composting, and that's a good thing. But especially in this winter season, when there is more garden waste generated compared to rest of the year, and because of the lower temperatures, the rate of composting reduces. So your composting system is going to fall short of the amount of waste that you are generating. And that is why that is where this technology can help you deal with that excess waste in a very simple way. So municipal gardens, yes, that is one possibility, but there are in Pune so many institutions, academic institutions, industrial campuses, which also have big gardens, old trees. They can also start adopting this technology and start, moving forward. That is one way to push this. And of course, individual people with gardens, they are already, several of them are doing this already.
There is another question by Dr. Philip. 80% is burned. So, what are the byproducts? And there is another question again. So, is there some thought on how this heat also can be made use of?
Yeah, yeah. So as I said, what is burnt is all the volatile material. So if you look at the chemistry of it, organic material is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and a few of the mineral components which the plants have taken from the soil. Now we char is nearly 100% pure carbon, and of course the mineral components, which if you burn a piece of wood really totally, you end up with ash. That is the mineral component, so that will remain. Plus you also want to harvest some pure carbon, then only this material will be called biochar. So there are many compounds of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen which are driven out when a piece of biomass is heated. So when you heat it, then there is actually vaporization, and this vapor comes out. So we are burning it off, but it is possible to harvest this gas, and one can extract tar and some other wood gas, pyrolysis gas, which can be used separately as a fuel. That is possible. However, that requires more complex systems, and that will make our system stationary, which is what we want to avoid. From a waste management perspective, we wanted it to be a portable system, and that is why we are giving up on trying to harvest byproduct from this pyrolysis gas. What you end up with ultimately as solid is, as I said, almost 80 to 90% of that is carbon, and rest is what is technically called as ash. So it's a mixture of carbon and ash, but carbon is the major component for it to be designated as biochar. Many times in industrial processes, black colored residue is left, but that has hardly 20-30% carbon in it. That cannot be called biochar. That will not give you the effects as true biochar would. So that is something to be careful about. I hope that answers your question. What was the second question?
I
um,
think what are the byproducts? Like,
yeah, byproducts I answer.
Sorry, is
Uh,
there any thought on how this heat also can be
yes,
made?
yes. So again, yes, we can take that burning flame somewhere to make use of it. Firstly, this system is the small kiln that I showed. That As I told you, the one batch will last just for 15-20 minutes. So one way is you can put a pot on top of that and use that heat for maybe heating water or something, but every 15-20 minutes you'll have to lift it and then again restart the process, so it's not very practically feasible. For the other larger kiln, because of its height, we can't do anything on top of the chimney, but can we take that heat somewhere else and make use of it? Possible, but again it will add some complexity and some additional engineering in that, which we haven't yet gone into. We are trying to keep it simple to operate at this point in time, but it is definitely possible to make use of the gas or the heat generated by burning the gas for getting some other useful output also out of the system.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Karve. There is a question by Sarthak Dikshit. He's asking what happens to the fuel gas that generated in your product, and what is the percentage of that fuel gas?
I already said we are burning it off currently, and that is about 80% of the. Out of that, 80% is actually in even the most dry biomass. There will still be moisture. So about 20%, 15-20% moisture is there, and rest of it is this combustible gas. 20 to 30% is left behind as char.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Karve. There is a question by Sunita Gokhale. So she's asking, can we get this unit on a rent for 1 to 2 days from you? And will anyone from your company will help with operating this unit?
So we haven't yet figured out a formula for renting it out. We don't have the kind of manpower where we can send a person with the unit. You can take the unit and operate it yourself. That is definitely possible, and we are open to that option. We have given units like that for people who wanted to try it out first before buying it, but creating a rental model around it is definitely possible. If a demand comes like that, we can do that, but sending a person also to operate that system, that's not possible at this point.
There is a last question by Mr. Santosh Dixit. What is the calorific value of biochar that is generated?
So calorific value will vary a bit depending on your starting material. If it is, we are not using hard wood here. So most of this is even the woody biomass is like coconut shells or the corn cobs and things like that, which is fairly low density. And your the whatever is the silica content in the and the mineral potash and all of that is also there. So calorific value typically doesn't exceed that of wood, good quality wood. So it's around 4,000 to 5,000 kilocalorie per kg. That's the kind of calorific value we are getting. Using it as a fuel, the main advantage is charcoal or coal briquettes particularly. Charcoal briquettes burn much more cleanly than wood. It is you can design a cooking energy device which is more efficient because the fuel then becomes standardized. The only issue is carbon monoxide generation, but in the central and southern India, we don't cook in insulated spaces. In the kind of cooker that we have designed, for example, you are burning only 100 grams of charcoal at a time. Whatever little carbon monoxide is generated, it's not going to kill you if you are operating in a properly, decently ventilated kitchen. In that sense, cooking the same food on, let's say, firewood versus cooking the same food on charcoal or char briquettes is more efficient and less polluting. So that's the advantage of using charcoal or char briquette rather than other biomass based solid fuels. Of course, it's not as clean as LPG, but it is renewable, whereas LPG is a fossil fuel.
There is another question like, what's the difference between biochar and the output that comes out of 24 hours composters?
So composters will give you what happens in composting is primarily this is aerobic process, which the bacteria eat up all the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and the mineral content of the waste is what is left behind ultimately. So your compost is more of the mineral content, which is essentially plants have taken it from the soil and you are returning it back to the soil. That's the thinking behind composting. In here you are getting nearly 80% pure carbon, and it is inert carbon, so it is not going to get decomposed over time. Compost, when you take it out from your compost pit or your machine, will also have a large amount of carbon, but this is not inert, this is a reactive carbon. So the material that you put in the soil will keep on getting decomposed, and that carbon will keep on going back to the atmosphere, and ultimately what the plants end up eating from that is the mineral component. That's what is happening there. But here what you are doing is you are putting a lot of inert carbon in the soil, which, as I said, holds moisture, creates more porosity, and therefore the soil bacterial population increases, and it is the soil bacteria which make the soil minerals available to the plants. So the natural process, the natural symbiotic relationship between soil bacteria and plants, that is getting enhanced by adding biochar into the soil. When you add compost or chemical fertilizer, you are adding the minerals, water soluble minerals from outside, so you are actually breaking the symbiotic relationship between soil bacteria and the plants, whereas here you are encouraging that relationship. And that's how soil health is linked with the bacterial count. So soil health improves when you put biochar in the soil. So that's the main difference.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kave, for this wonderful talk. We request participant to turn on their video so that we can take a group photo. Shidal, I will be also taking a few screenshots.
Sure, Gayatri.
Yeah. So this talk will be available on our YouTube channel in this week. The participant, many participant ask us to send the recorded and the link for this recording, so they can visit our YouTube channel. That's Pune Knowledge Cluster, and under that Sustain series, you can find all the talks under this series. And thank you once again, Dr. Karve, for this wonderful and informative talk. We also thank all the participants for their valuable time and join us for this talk. Thank you once again.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.